Hey, it's the Empire. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon for more videos. We taking over. Let's go, champ. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's go. Hey, it's the Empire, Geoboxing Empire, Boxing Boxing. Nah, man, crazy stuff, man. Devin Haney and Gary Russell Jr., man, to continue this negotiation. And it's looking like, man, the fight might not happen this year just because Devin the Dream Haney has he already was in a training camp before this whole Gary Russell debacle, and he was already scheduled to fight in November. That being said, man, that would give Gary Russell Jr. barely enough time for a training camp, less than 2 months, which is the standard time for a training camp, and that's just not enough time for Gary Russell Jr. to get ready for this fight. Now, man, there's been a lot of infighting in the LDBC and the media that promotes black fighters, that really goes all in for them. The Deontay Wilder fans, the people who love black fighters, right? Dante's Boxing Nation and AIK TV have been really rocking with Devin Haney, and Fanning International Boxing Channel and Blue Blood Sports, they've been rocking with Gary Russell Jr., man. There's been a lot of infighting. And, you know, in this whole debacle, man, I'm going to have to lean with Gary Russell Jr. just because, you know, he was arguing with Terrence Crawford to get a fight, and Devin Haney came out of nowhere with this random offer. And between the negotiation and the stagnating just time it took to get things done, I mean, by the time this offer gets done, it's going to be October. And that's basically only a month for a training camp. That being said, man, it's a little too late for Devin Haney to get a fight this year with Gary Russell Jr. I do think they might fight next year. That's a fight that will be in the future, but I just don't see how Gary Russell Jr. will go up and wait and fight. He'll go up 4 divisions because he's a 126 pounder right now. He's the longest reigning WBC champion in boxing right now. And from 126 to 147 is 4 weight classes. So I don't understand how Gary Russell will go up and fight Terrence Crawford, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, but he's scared of Devin the Dream Haney, who may be a great fighter, but he hasn't proved anything yet. Why would Gary Russell Jr. fight Terrence Crawford and go all the way up there for, he says it was personal. It wasn't even about the money. He would have did it for the hell of it, just cause. But for Devin Haney, it's about money. And, you know, like I said, man, the negotiations took way too long. You know, Bill Haney knows who to call. He doesn't need to be calling Gary Russell Jr. He needs to talk to Al Heyman. Al Heyman is his advisor. And what Al Heyman said is basically the contract a little suspect. It wasn't a contract. It was actually like, it was like a draft of what was to be in the fight, but everything wasn't final, right? Dan's wasn't on it, Eddie Hearn wasn't on it, so you had the network who wasn't with it, or the backers like Dan's, right? They weren't on it, and that's who Devin Haney fights behind. So everything was looking real suspect, and it was just too little, too late. Too many things to get worked out right before the fight. So this fight will happen in the future, man. We're gonna see who Devin Haney fights next. A lot of people are saying Eucharist Gamboa, but we'll see about that. You know, there's a lot of fighters he could fight. Same thing with Gary Russell Jr. We don't know who he's gonna fight next. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna have to lean with Gary Russell Jr. on this one, just because he was gonna fight Terrence Crawford. It mind boggles me how someone could say, oh, you know, I'll fight the best guy in the world, #1 pound-for-pound fighter, and I'll go 4 weight divisions to do it, and then everyone's all for it. But then he calls out some prospect, and all of a sudden he's scared of the prospect. That makes no sense. You gotta make it make sense, guys. You gotta make it make sense. You know, Gary Russell Jr. has been in the ring with people like Lomachenko. He's been sparring with Terrence Crawford since he was a kid. I mean, he's been in the ring with elite level competition. People just don't talk about it, right? We all know Gary Russell, for a fact, has been training with Terrence Crawford since he was a kid, and because he was in amateurs with the guy, right? We've seen him in the ring with Lomachenko, and I thought that was a close fight. You know, Devin Haney, I haven't even heard Devin Haney fighting anyone professionally. Well, he hasn't. He hasn't fought anyone. Now, these are rumors of him sparring Gervonta Tank Davis, but you know, there's been rumors that he got smashed. You know, I heard it was like back and forth, but I heard he lost some sparrings and he won some sparring. So there's still a lot of question marks with Devin the Dream Haney, man. There's still a lot of unsolved and unquestioned questions that haven't been asked about the guy yet. I mean, could he beat a young fighter his own age? You know, while he's calling out all these people a lot older than him, he needs to be fighting his peers, in my opinion, like the team of Teofimo Lopez's, the Ryan Garcias, and the Javante Tank Davises. You know, he's trying to catch Gary Russell slipping with this short notice, right? He's trying to do what Anthony Joshua did to Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz and giving them a short training camp, and they just take the fight out of nowhere. You know, that's rampant in boxing. You know, to get a fighter to fight. You know, granted, Anthony Joshua, Big Miller tested positive, and he has to get a new opponent, but it's still not the point. The point is, you know, the boxing is rampant with fighters having to get fights off a short week notice. If they're an elite level fighter, give them like a week to train, and then when you beat the guy, say, oh, well, I beat him, I'm better. You know, that happens a lot in boxing, and it's sad. I don't want to see that with Gary Russell Jr. versus Devin Haney. Gary Russell Jr. has been ducked for so long, for so many years, that I want to see the best Gary Russell Jr. I don't want to have any doubts about it. And if Gary Russell Jr., in my opinion, if he gets one fight at 135, which is the weight class Devin Dream Haney fights on, there would be no excuses about who's the bigger fighter, and this fight would be more even. So I'm all for Gary Russell Jr. Getting a fight at 135 first before he fights Devin Dream Haney, to get him more accumulated to the weight. It'll be a more competitive fight anyway. So, you know, at the end of the day, this is probably a good thing. Gary Russell Jr. will be fighting, and he will be fighting at a higher weight class, and this will definitely put an exclamation mark on the skill if he can do it in spectacular fashion by getting a W, right? We're going to see how their careers move from here, but yeah, man, I mean, I just don't understand it. Like I said earlier, no, you're not going to have a smaller guy going in 4 weight classes to fight someone, but he's scary of a guy who's only 3 weight classes bigger than him. You know what I mean? It makes no sense. I'm rocking my Gary in this one. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geoboxing Empire. Peace.